If your marketing seems to have taken a bit of a dip and you're getting into your head and you're going down this bit of a mindset spiral where your doubt is increasing, you're thinking that you suck, your offers suck, and everything sucks just because things aren't working like they used to, then this is why you need to be listening to this episode, because we're going to be talking about why numbers actually help you to take the emotion out of your selling and help you get back on track, back into action mode, and actually focusing on the right areas of your business and actually help those mind monkeys fuck off and waft away, quite frankly. So welcome to this episode of the Brilliant New Business Show. In case you're new here, my name is Jenny Stevens. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. This podcast and this show is all about helping to empower other online business owners to streamline their business more, to do things in an aligned way. And I'll help share with you strategies, tools, systems, and techniques that can help you simplify things, systemize it so you can actually free up your time, free up your brain space, and actually create more of the space, the flexibility, and have the business work around the lifestyle that you actually want. Because without the systems in place, then it's going to be difficult to do. Now, one of my favorite topics, and it's something that I will talk about again and again and again, and every single month I get super excited because I get to get my spreadsheets out and get to dive into the numbers. And I always share this, I'll share it in stories on Instagram. And I thought, you know what, let's do a deeper dive into this topic, because there's probably a lot of people out there who don't quite understand how numbers really affect the decisions that you make. And I'm not just talking about revenue and expenses and finances. It's actually helping you to know what part of your marketing process, what part of your customer journey, all the effort that you are putting into promoting your products, selling your offers, creating all the content to try and attract people and generate leads and get sales. Numbers help you to understand specifically which area you need to be focusing on. Because at the end of the day, I do not want you to be wasting time on things that don't need it. And this is where numbers come into play. So today we're going to be talking about the different types of metrics that I recommend that you should be tracking. I'll help you to understand those numbers a little bit more and kind of what they mean. And then we'll talk a bit about then knowing, well, what numbers relate to what part of the journey. So you can walk away not having a bit more confidence to know, okay, now I know where to focus my time, not focusing on an area that doesn't need it, and knowing what parts you can test and tweak and get working better so that you can then reevaluate and go, oh, look at that. My time and energy that's sort of siloed in and honed in on an area that's needed it, that you've got from data, is really going to make a big impact on your business. So let's dive in. So I'm sure you've had this. If you have been in business for a while, you will probably know the feeling of when either stop working, when you've had a really great run of things, perhaps things have come up in life and have taken you off track, have, put a spanner in the works. Perhaps you have then started to doubt, okay, is this actually working? Your sales have taken a dip. And you're thinking, oh my God, is it me? You start going down this spiral of thinking that maybe you're just not cut out for this. Maybe this offer sucks. Maybe I need to create something brand new. Maybe I need to completely change my business. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. It gets you full of questions. It gets you full of doubt. And before you know it, months and months have gone by and you're going around this kind of circle. And the problem is it does create this spiral feeling of, and this vicious cycle of, you take action, things either don't work, your doubt then increases, which just feeds in that negative story. And obviously we know how much our mind affects our thoughts. But the alternative of thinking, if you want to burn your business to the ground, which as a woman, probably once a month when it comes just right before the time of the month, it happens. The anxiety rises, especially as you get older. I have definitely noticed as I got close to 40, I was noticing and recognizing that my anxiety was heightened toward, just before it was time of the month. I noticed that my mindset was worse. And now that I recognize it, and then suddenly a few days later, you're like, oh, that's why I don't want to burn my business to the ground. I don't want to go and get a job again. So these are things also that can play into it as well. But actually, when you focus on the right things and you actually take more of a data approach to helping you to know, what do you focus on? What things aren't working? What things are working and can stay untouched? It helps just create so much alleviation and pressure off your shoulders. It's actually going to save you a lot of bloody time from, you're not burning stuff to the ground that doesn't need to. And it's actually going to help you get back on track, out of that mindset funk, and start actually looking more for the positives and seeing the reality of stuff rather than the bullshit stories that your mind makes up. And how do I know all this? Because I've been talking about myself. I have felt it all, to be completely honest, the last 2 years have been hard. I had a lot of stuff personally happen 2 years ago. I went through my 4th round of IVF after a 6-year gap. It didn't work. Thought I was okay. 3 months later, I was spiraling and I had this big anxiety erupted that I had no idea was in there. And I had to go through a lot of kind of therapy and healing time to really deal with the trauma and the grief that I was dealing with. I turned 40 last year, so I had all of that to deal with milestones. And the knock-on effect was on my business. My mind wasn't quite there. I was full of re-triggered emotions from years and years of, fertility and trying for a baby for such a long time. And it re-triggered a lot in me. And, for me personally, the two things go hand in hand. If I'm not feeling confident in myself, it can come across in my business. I had to take more time to heal and rest from doing lots of, intense therapy. And my sales and my marketing and how I showed up took a huge knock. And because of that, I went through this exact spiral. My mindset was up the swanny. I had done so much inner work already on for my own self-trust and confidence. And I feel like I've had to redo a lot of it, and so I'm talking from personal experience. I know what it's like. And the one thing that I always come back to, because I don't allow myself to stay in these funks for too long. Obviously, I've got a business to run. I've got to put money in the bank to, contribute to our household. I've got bills to pay. I want to lead a life. I want to go on holiday. I've got things to pay for. So, there's always things that help me even just take one tiny little step and, get out of that funk. And for me, it always comes down to looking at the numbers. And so the title of this episode is talking about why numbers help take the emotion out of selling. And that's exactly that. Now, I know that not everybody is numbers crazy. Like, I am a bit of a geek. I've embraced my inner geek as I've got older. I love spreadsheets. I love numbers. I love the data-driven marketing because of what it gives you. And that's kind of what this episode is all about, because it helps you get out of your head of thinking that you suck, your offer sucks, your business sucks, and everything sucks. And all the bullshit stories that creep in and try to take over and stop you and get you comfortable and safe. It actually helps you look at reality. It helps you see the bigger picture. And there are a lot of people that aren't tracking. They're not spending the time to actually evaluate their business with that data. They are just pumping out content constantly every single day and every single week, but they're not actually spending the time looking at how are things working. Is it actually relating to, growing your business and not just about followers and likes, right? And there's one thing that I want you to remember. Numbers are your friend. Data, metrics, numbers, they can be your best friend if you let them. Even if you don't enjoy it all the time. But when you actually understand the meaning behind the numbers, and it helps you to see exactly where to focus and what to do. It's going to help you make faster decisions, especially if you're growing your business and you want to bring on team members if you haven't already. Having numbers in place can help you set targets, can help you evaluate and make sure that you and any team members are working on the right stuff and not wasting time. So let's talk about what numbers should you be tracking inside of your business. Now, obviously, every business is going to be different, so there may be some differences of things that you may or may not need. So kind of take some of these, relate them to your business. But I obviously deal with other online business owners, so coaches, course creators, service-based businesses, people that are creating online services, online digital products, online courses, etc. They're using digital marketing and online marketing to sell their stuff, across the world. Now, however you are marketing, each platform, each kind of method that you're doing is going to have its own metrics. So I'm just going to talk about some of the core things that you might be doing and some of those metrics for you to track. Now, I have all of these metrics inside of my spreadsheet bundle. I have an online business tracking bundle. So if you don't have a way to track this, I do have a resource for you. I'll put it in the show notes of this episode. You can go and grab that bundle. It's got all of this stuff in there for you with all the, formulas and whatnot to help you track this. But let's go through this. Now, obviously, a big part of online marketing is using social media. So with social media, again, there's lots of different metrics that you could be tracking. But at the end of the day, the core thing we're using social media for is to find new people or have them find you. It's to get engagement. You're putting out content, probably like a mofo, trying to pump out lots of content to reach more people. How is it actually performing? So obviously you can look at views or reach, but also then how is it converting? So as I say, you want to know how many people has your content been seen by? And I do a monthly deep dive into all of my metrics. Some things I look at weekly, but for the most part, social media in particular, I only do once a month. So you want to look at, okay, well, how many people has all of your pieces of content that you've put out, what has your reach been? How many people have you reached? You've got the impressions, so how many people have actually seen it? Then you're going to look at, all right, how many clicks, or it might be comments, or it might be just engagements, people taking some kind of action on your content. Each piece of content is going to have its own intention. You might be asking them to comment. You might be asking them to go and click on a link. You might be asking them to DM you. You want to look at what has been like the content interactions. I think that's the one that Instagram, that's the label that they use, is the content interactions. How much like action has people actually taken with your content? Then obviously if you're using things like Facebook or Instagram, usually a lot of people will be saying, hey, DM me if you want more information, or let's chat to see how I can help you. So if you are using DMs as a big part of your strategy to connect with people, ask questions, and obviously then, refer them to one of your offers that's the most fit for them, how many people have DM'd you? How many of those DM conversations then actually converted into a sale? So you'll want to have a conversion rate for kind of especially leads and sales metrics of each of your platforms. So if DMs is one of your things, and to work out the conversion rate, you'll take the number of sales and divide it by the number of DMs that you had. And then if you're using a spreadsheet, you could just hit percentage or times it by 100 if you're using a calculator, and that gives you your conversion rate. The same thing as if you are having like discovery calls, you can do the same thing. How many conversations have you had that month? How many of those discovery calls, those Zoom calls or whatever you're doing, then actually converted into a sale? But let's keep going with the social media side of things. So then we have like, how many profile visits did you receive? And actually, this is a newish metric that I only started tracking this year. And it's something that I got from following, I follow different social media managers. And it's something I'd never thought about before. So I added this into my tracker. And so it's just a useful way to see how a slightly different metric converts. You can actually see how, again, another piece of your social media puzzle. So how many profile visits did you get? How many new followers? And this one is then, so when you can see that, I can't remember what the specific term is, but basically kind of like how many of those profile visits converted into new followers. So that's another indication of if people are actually checking you out, checking out your Instagram page or your Facebook page, did they then like what they see that you're someone that they want to follow, and hit that follow button. So that's a really useful metric, as well as obviously the bigger things like leads and sales. We don't want to get too caught up in vanity metrics, but you still want to track, the number of followers that you have, your engagement, your reach and stuff like that. And there's a whole load of different things inside of the tracker that I personally use, and that, you can buy as well if you want that. And again, each social media platform is going to be different. Obviously, Facebook and Instagram are fairly similar. TikTok, you're going to have some slightly different things. Again, you've got obviously video views, you've got comments. I mean, you can obviously DM in TikTok. So again, look at which platform you're using, how you're using it, what the process of somebody new finding you, going down the line, if you like, of then becoming a lead or becoming a sale, and look at what those points are. So again, if it's having people comment, or if you get people to DM you, or if you take people from TikTok over to Instagram to make the sale, look at how you can track that as well. Then we come on to funnel metrics. So if you are using funnels inside of your business, whether you have lead magnet funnels, if you have sales funnels, webinar funnels, the last episode we talked all about funnels. So if you're not using funnels yet, or you want a bit more about what types of funnels to use, definitely go and check that out. I'll put that in the kind of other episodes you might like. So definitely go and check that out after this one. But if you are using funnels inside your business, then again, you definitely want to be tracking the metrics for it. So as a kind of bog stand, again, depending on what software you use for your funnels, the software that I use makes it really easy to see that, because each funnel is within its own little sort of folder, if you like, and you can easily see all the metrics there. So I can see how many page views of every single step inside that funnel, even if it's only a 2 or 3 step, page funnel, all the way down to if it's like a pretty hefty and complex one. You want to be looking at how many landing page views you have. And again, this can be the same whether you're using a lead magnet funnel or if it's a sales funnel as well. I do this for both. I have kind of all of my lead magnets. I've got all of my sales pages. And then if there are like sales pages within a lead magnet funnel, then I obviously look at those as well slightly differently. But you want to be looking at your page views of like your initial landing page, then how many, whether it's leads actually then opted in, and then you've got your conversion rate. So how many leads divided by page visits times by 100, that gives you your conversion rate of visitor to lead. The same for a sales funnel. You'll have your landing page views. You can have your checkout views. If they're on a separate page, some things you might have the actual paying checkout on the landing page. So again, depends on how you do it. But if you have a sales page, a separate page for checkout views, I would track both of those. And then obviously how many sales did you get? And then you'll have your conversion rate of lead to sale, or again, a sales visitor to sale. And you can also then see from the checkout views what that is as well. Then if you have any kind of upsells on any of your funnels as well, you then can have conversion rates of each of those upsells. So you can see how many people that bought product 1 then bought upsell 1, and what that conversion rate is. And if you have a second upsell or a downsell, you can obviously then work out those metrics as well if your software doesn't have it. But even if your software has it, like mine does, I still track it in a spreadsheet so I can see like month to month for any trends, or see if things go up or down, and see what the average is then over the year. So you kind of want visitor to lead, lead to sale, or visitor to sale as well. And then obviously again, any kind of upsell. So you can see actually how are your upsells working. Same if you have any kind of bump sell offers in there as well, you want to be tracking those and those conversion rates also. Then we come on to email marketing. So if you are using an email list and you're sending out emails, then you want to be tracking your email metrics. There's also an email marketing tracker inside my bundle, so you can have all of that to track if you haven't already. So the main ones you want is your open rate, your clicks, and obviously that then gives you your click-through rate. Those are like the core things. And so with the email marketing, the open rate, it helps you to see how are your subject lines working. That's really what it comes down to, because if people don't open your email, it doesn't matter how good your content is on the other side, they're not seeing it. So the subject line is so key into seeing how is your open rate working. If you have a really high open rate, but your clicks are low, your click-through rate is low, then what do you think that tells you? That tells you that there's something in the content that hasn't activated people enough to take action. Perhaps it didn't quite have the right messaging for the audience. Perhaps it just wasn't the right time. Maybe there wasn't enough urgency. There are so many different things that you can test with that. But that's why we track these things. So the open rate helps you to see, okay, if this is low, perhaps I'll test some different subject lines. And sometimes it can be as simple as resending the exact same email the next day to the people that didn't open it with a different subject line. And boom, you could suddenly get another, 20% of people opening your email. Click-through rates, again, knowing if people are clicking or if they're not clicking, okay, let's work on the copy, or let's work on, can I put a call to action something higher up? Or if people are clicking, but they're not buying, if you're sending them to a sales page, for example, well, then that helps you see, okay, so they're interested, but something's not actually getting them over the line. So what is there? Is there something on your sales page? So you can see that just, how things work. It helps you see exactly where to focus things. And then you want to track how many sales do you get from your emails? Or if you are promoting like a webinar, for example, you'd want to then see how many of those emails then converted into registrations, for example. So each marketing platform, whatever you're doing, is going to have its own thing. If you're using Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. Just, you've kind of got your base things. You want to know what the conversion rate is of the content into some kind of action, whether it's a lead and or a sale as well. Those are like the core things. And then obviously then each platform is going to have its own individual metrics that you may or may not want to track. And you don't have to track every single little metric that platform might have, but the core ones that really just help you to see how is your content and your efforts that you're putting into that platform, how is it actually portraying into people taking action? Are you converting brand new people that come and find you? Do they convert? Or are people just staying there and either not consuming your content, or they're consuming your content but they're not taking any action? They're just there for a free ride. Well, what might you be able to do to help make a shift there, to get more people to actually stop just consuming all this free stuff and actually, get their card out and give you some money that you deserve? So if you are using multiple platforms to share content, do you even know what's the biggest driver of traffic, new people? Where do the most of your leads come from? Where do most of your sales come from? If I, asking you this right now, could you tell me straight away and know for a fact that was the answer? Sometimes when we don't track, there might be some hidden gems. There might be things that you have overlooked, or perhaps you didn't realize played quite a pivotal role in your marketing, and perhaps you're not giving it as much attention. So for an example, I've been using Pinterest for years, and it's been one of the things that has been really steady. I'm not always consistent with it, but every time I publish new blog posts, and obviously now this show, I always create pins to go on Pinterest that connect to the blog post. And on my blog post, I have the video and I have the podcast episode, and then obviously the written blog, more of a summarized version on that blog post. And the reason I do that is because Pinterest is an amazing way to keep your content lasting longer. Again, I talked about this a couple of episodes ago, not just saying you must use Pinterest, but it's just talking about how we can make our content last a lot longer in this kind of instant world where there's all these short form videos and it's this just a short instant gratification world. But all the effort that we put into creating content, we want it to last more than a day, right? So I talked about that. So definitely that's going to be another episode that you can go and check out if you haven't already. But for me, I've always liked Pinterest because I like I like the graphics. I like the fact that you can create multiple different designs and pins for the one piece of content. And it's a search engine, right? So obviously if people are searching for certain topics and your title is relevant, then boom, people can be shown your pin and click on it. It's actually a great way to test different headlines as well. But anyway, the point is that every single year, when I look at all of my metrics, one of the things that I do inside of Google Analytics is I look at what are my top 2 traffic sources. Now, for years, I did a lot of Facebook advertising. I love Facebook ads. And obviously that was always top because I was pumping money into it, right? But for free organic methods, Pinterest is always my top. It's either first or it's second. If I'm not doing any kind of paid advertising, Pinterest has consistently been either top 1 or 2 spots of my traffic source. And it usually comes from direct. These are people finding me in Google, and then it's Pinterest, which is great because actually it's very little effort and it helps the content some of the pins that keep a load of traffic come in are from blog posts that I wrote years ago. This is why it's got so much leverage. This is why I love it. But this is the point. Without actually looking at it, I remember I think I was part of a mastermind or something, and it was doing a bit of an audit. And I knew that Pinterest was always fairly up there, but I didn't realize how much. And they convert into leads as well. I get quite a lot of leads every single year from Pinterest from these old blog posts, which is great. So it kind of comes without me doing anything. But without actually taking the time to look at where are my leads coming from, people joining my email list or sales as well, it was like, actually, why am I spending so much time and effort, like on Instagram, for example, and not putting as much effort on Pinterest, which is actually driving a lot more traffic and leads, whereas Instagram has been very, very low. And I still probably spend I like Instagram. I like the stories, but I was spending so much time and energy on creating all this Instagram content for very little return. And again, so it helped me to go, oh, hang on a second. Let's look at the numbers. Let's tip the balance a bit. Let's make sure I'm spending enough time creating new pins for not only my new episodes, but also creating fresh new pins for old content to help keep that alive as well. So this isn't me saying you need to go and use Pinterest and do this, but this is about me saying, track your metrics. Look at where are you spreading your content online and set up the things, so like Google Analytics is a great one. So you can actually see if you've got a website, where are people finding you? Where are people converting from? And you may have potentially some hidden gems that you hadn't known about or are performing better and you're not giving it as much attention. And just like me, perhaps you're giving platforms that isn't giving you as much reward more attention than not. So super, super important to have the things set up that enables you to track that and having the right kind of tracker that shows you that visibility. So inside of my tracker and the dashboard, I can easily see where my leads and sales are coming from. I can see that, oh, look, over the month and again over the year, are my sales coming from email? Are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from Pinterest? Are they coming from Instagram? Blah, 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 blah. All right. So what do all of these numbers mean? So I kind of alluded to some of it just now with the email marketing metrics. So again, each platform is going to be different. Each is going to have their own thing. But thinking about it in stages, right? So your customer journey is going to be somebody finds you or consumes your content. This is traffic, okay? Traffic is eyeballs on your content, whether that is watching a video on TikTok or Reels, whether that's reading a blog post, whether it's listening to a podcast, whether it's watching a video on YouTube, whether it's finding your business page, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But you want to be looking at, so when you've got things like Funnels, when you've got landing page views and then your leads, your opt-ins, that's showing you the people that have landed on that page, how many people have actually then taken action. With social media, it could be the profile visits that turn into followers. It could be the number of views on a video with the comments, or if you're using things like ManyChat, which is an amazing way to leverage your time more, if you are having people comment on your reels or your posts on Facebook or Instagram, and then it turns into a, hey, DM me this word and I'll send you my freebie, or I'll send you my link to my product. How many comments did you get that then converted into a lead or a sale? So you've kind of got the front end, which is the people finding you, converting into a DM, a comment, a lead, for example. So that kind of talks about the front end content that people are finding. And if that is low, so if you are getting lots of views but not much action, then that tells you that it's the content that you're putting out. Something's not connecting. Now, there can be many different things that you can test and tweak with it. So it could be your messaging. It could be that maybe you're not specific enough. Maybe you're not clear enough. Maybe the people that are watching it aren't quite seeing, oh, this is definitely for me. So you could be talking more specifically about the problems, about the experiences that they might be having. I went through a messaging free challenge thingy a few months ago, and it was great. And I saw some of my own gaps. I was like, oh, I've probably been a little bit generic with certain things. I love educating, I love teaching people, but I had been perhaps a little bit too focused on that. And so I've added in some slightly different content types into my content strategy and to try out. And I definitely saw some things that I could work on with my own content, because I'm not where I want to be. And I could see that, I get people watching my videos. I know that people, when they consume my content, or people that are in my programs, they love it. They're like, oh, your content is so good. But something wasn't quite connecting. Another thing might be is that maybe the audience that you have isn't quite right. Have you got the right match there? If you're doing ads, have you got the right targeting there? And this is where, for many years, Facebook ads was a big part of my marketing. And it was a really great way. And it was a huge lesson piece, a huge skill development in all of these little numbers. And so this is kind of why I love this stuff, because for years it was dissecting all those little metrics that Facebook ads give you. So it helped you to know which part of the ad to tweak, right? Was it the headline? Was it the opening sentence of the ad copy? Was it the image? Was it the first 3 seconds of the video? Was it the target audience? All of these metrics pointed to which part of the ad to work on. And that's kind of basically what I'm doing this, but this is kind of overall for your marketing, right? It's similar things, but obviously some of the metrics aren't necessarily the same thing. So, if you are having people view but not take action, it could be your messaging, it could be your audience, it could be maybe you're not giving the right keywords of the problem or for the audience to know quick enough. Especially if it's in a video, you need to get that something really specific in there in the first sort of 3 seconds, because otherwise people might swipe. So even sometimes as simple as that. One of the best things, this was several years ago now, and is a really good example, right, of how making a tweak can make a huge difference. So was it my first webinar? I can't remember if it was my first, I think it was my first webinar I did. It was back in 2017, I believe. I think it was just before I quit my job, right? I was part of a mentoring program and invested thousands into developing my skills in marketing online. And I was going to be promoting my own course for the first time, my very first course, which was all about building an email list. So having the funnel, the lead magnet, and email marketing. That's why I still teach this stuff today, because I absolutely love it. That was my very first course, right, back in 2017. And I was doing a webinar to it. So I was running ads to this landing page for people to register for this webinar. And the opt-in rate So how many people were clicking and looking at that landing page to see what the webinar was about to the actual registrations was, I can't remember what it was, but it was okay, but not great. It was maybe something like 20%, 25%. I can't remember. I changed one thing. I changed the headline. So when people opened the page, like the big title of the page that they see, that's the bit, that's like one of the most important parts of your landing page is the headline. I changed that and then I reran it, and my opt-in rate doubled. It went up to like 50% from changing one thing, right? So this is why like tweaking and testing and optimizing is so key, because sometimes it is a small change. I could have gone, oh, this webinar sucks, I'm going to have to come up with a whole new topic. But because I looked at numbers and I saw, right, okay, something's not quite fully connecting with the landing page, let's try the headline, and boom. But it may not have been. So I might have had to have tried a couple, but I got more specific. I made it more compelling and it worked. And so then it meant that I didn't have to touch the rest of it, because now I was getting more people actually opting in to then, join my webinar and for me to share my value. And obviously then I pitched my course at the end of it and I got my first 2 sales, which is super exciting. So that's kind of the front end stuff. So then you have the metrics that are going to be more middle related. So again, like with Facebook ads, for example, if I was getting clicks but no leads, I knew it was something either on the landing page or was like how I was teeing them up. Was it really connected? Was I kind of following on the message? Or if it's you're getting people to opt into your lead magnet, you're getting leads, you're getting DMs, you're getting inquiries about your business, but people aren't converting to sales, then there's something in that process or that page, or again, whatever your process is for converting people from lead to sale. Is it your email follow-up? Is it your thank you page? Have you got an opportunity to maybe tweak that if you're offering something to buy? Is it is it the DM conversation? Is there a way that you can shorten it? Like, are you waiting too long? Are you going in for the kill too soon? Are you not asking enough questions? Like, there's so many different things that can come into it. It's not just a one thing to try. But again, it helps you to see if you're getting this, but not this, then this is the piece I need to try. But if you're getting this, but not this and this, then this is the piece I need to try. Then you also have, again, depending on what you're doing, if you have webinars, it's how many people are registering, but are they actually showing up? If you're doing a live webinar, how many people are actually showing up to your webinar? Because that's super important, right? How many people are watching your replay if you then have a replay as well? If you're doing a pre-recorded webinar, how many views are you getting? And then how many sales are you getting? If whatever part of the process, if the registrations are good, but people aren't showing up, but the people that do show up, the buy pretty good, then there's something in your follow-up to actually entice people to show up live. So all of these things, hopefully you can see how they all play out. So again, obviously there's so many different scenarios. I could be here all day, but I want you to look at obviously the different things that you are doing as part of your marketing. How are you getting traffic? How are you trying to get leads? How are you getting inquiries? And how are you getting sales? What's your path? What's your process? Because again, there's so many different things that we could do. I don't know what your exact process looks like. And again, by using tracking and looking at, writing down those numbers, even if just on a piece of paper initially, going, right, in the last month, so for May or previous month, or in the last 3 months, how many DMs did I get? How many of those converted into sales? How many clicks did I get? How many leads did I get? How many sales did I get? And look at which part isn't working. Now, there's going to be benchmarks as well for different metrics. Again, each kind of industry, but in the online thing, you're looking at 1% of cold audience going to like a sales page. Let's say you're selling a digital course, maybe it's a low ticket thing or a mid thing, doesn't really matter on the price, but the average is 1%. Now we can look at that and think, oh my God, this sucks. But actually, if you track and go, oh, I'm at 2%, it's pretty good. But it might just be the volume is low. And this is why I reverse engineer everything. So if I'm looking at creating financial goals, I'm going, right, or I'm about to do a launch of something or relaunch something. If I go, right, I want 5 people into my next program, I reverse engineer it so I know what to expect. How many webinar registrations does that need? Or how many leads does that mean I need in order for the kind of average conversion rate for me to hit that? Because sometimes your expectations are up here, but the reality of how many people you actually have clicking on things and looking at stuff is down here. So sometimes you need to make your expectations a little bit more realistic, or go, okay, I've got to invest some money or more time to really get more people seeing this stuff. So as you can see with all of this, firstly, obviously you need to be tracking your numbers every single month so you can see what's working, because I know that you're spending a lot of time and effort on marketing yourself, and so it's really important that you take a bit of time to just evaluate and see what things are working, what things are not. And I want you to ask, there's 3 questions that my mentor taught me several years ago of how to do a really quick evaluation. Obviously, have your numbers. You can grab my spreadsheet bundle and it will have all the formulas to kind of give you the conversion rate numbers that you need. You just plug in the kind of core numbers and it will spit it out and it will tell you what's what. But then I want you to ask yourself what's working. So after looking at your data, what's working, whether it's what platform is working, what activities are working. Are you finding that more people are watching videos versus, swiping through a carousel? Are you finding that more people are DMing you rather than clicking on links from your stories, for example? Are you seeing that people are opting in, but they're not buying? So I want you to look at what's working, what's not working, and then one thing that you'll do differently. So based on your metrics, which area needs the most attention? And then say, right, okay, so I'm going to test one thing with that next month to try and improve that. So whether it's, tweaking some copy, whether it's, getting more specific, whether it's adding more volume, whether it's trying to get more eyeballs on your content. Again, I talked about in a few episodes about, what types of content is going to be more visibility driven. If you need more eyeballs, that could be that. Or you might say, you know what, I'm going to put some money behind this and do some ads. So what thing are you going to test? What thing are you going to tweak to try and improve that metric, and then come back the next month and see how has it gone? Some things you might need to give more like 90 days if it's something bigger, but there's little small tweaks you can obviously look at, more often. But you can then see, okay, has it improved? Has it gone down? Has it stayed the same? And then do the same thing again. Okay, what's the next bit to try? And so when you give yourself these specific metrics, so like every single year I used to look, I look at my averages over the whole year and I'll see, okay, what's the average? Then that helps my benchmark for the next year. So you can do that same. Yes, there's industry benchmarks, but you'll then have your own average conversion rates for your various different things. That's your benchmark. So then for next year, you can say, right, okay, do you know what? I want to improve this I want to get it up by 2% next year. It helps you to set your own targets for you and or your team if you have one. And again, it can help you to see what things you can try. So say for years, every single year, I look at my average open rates, I look at my click-through rates, and I'll go, right, okay, I haven't done it actually as much recently, but especially in the earlier days, because I used to work in email marketing in my very last year of my corporate job, I moved to the email marketing department because I loved it so much. So I learned a lot about, we used to send, 4 different subject lines for every single email that when we sent it 3 times a week. So I did a lot about subject line kind of testing. So I would go, right, okay, I'm going to try and improve my open rate. And so I did a lot of subject line testing and stuff like that. So that's just one example. Or actually, I'm going to try and improve my click-through rate. So here's a few things I'm going to test. And then you can kind of see, is it working and is it not? So by having these specific measurable targets that you can create for yourself, improvements that you can aim for, knowing exactly which part of your marketing needs more attention or what things you're going to focus on to try and improve the rest of it. Say whether it's if when people do like chat with you or they do opt in or they do consume this, then it converts really well for sales. You just need more volume. Then you focus on the traffic side of things. If you're getting lots of traffic but they're not converting, then you don't need to focus so much on changing anything with this. Just keep doing what you're doing, but you know that there's some things to tweak in your kind of sales process. So it just helps you get out of this emotional state of thinking it's you, thinking it's your offer, thinking it's like whatever that gets you in your head and start all these stories that you know is crap. You know that you're great at what you do. You know that what you've got is awesome. It's just a case of tweaking things and seeing and testing things to see how can you get things to be improved. How can you get the right people to really get the message that you're wanting to say and bring the two things together. And so it kind of gets you more into that logical space. It gets rid of the emotion and it helps you stay with facts. It helps you stay with reality, and that helps you get into action. You can go, okay, boom, I know exactly what to do. I know what I'm going to test these few things. I'm going to work a few bits on here. And the emotional stuff just like disappears. And if you don't believe me, try it and let me know. And I pretty much guarantee that, it will be the case for you. I know that not everybody loves data-driven marketing and the data stuff like I do. We are all different. But no matter what, as a CEO, you will need to track some of your numbers. If you hate so much, outsource it. Have somebody else, collate it all for you and bring you the core stuff. You really don't want to. But as a business owner, you need to know your numbers because you're in the driver's seat. You're the person to make the decisions. It's your, neck on the line. You've got yourself to pay and potentially any of the teammates. So you need to make sure that you are on top of these things and you know what these numbers mean and where then to drive that focus and attention in your business. And that just helps you to up level your own skills and your leadership to actually be able to run your business efficiently and effectively. So you don't have to necessarily be in all the nitty gritty and the detail if you don't want to, but at least understand the basics of what these things mean. Make sure that you or somebody is doing the tracking for you if you don't want to spend the time to bring it all together. But if if you can't outsource it yet, perhaps if you're not at that place, then definitely go and grab my tracking bundle. It's got all of the spreadsheets in there for you, say from funnel metrics, email marketing, your social media, all your different platforms. If you're doing affiliate marketing, it's got stuff in there for you as well, plus all your finances and other things as well. So it's a whole great bundle with all the spreadsheets that I've personally created. I'm constantly testing and tweaking those. And as I learn new things, I might add in a couple of new rows of things I want to track. And I give those out to you with lifetime updates. So you get kind of a whole set of, you get those new updates every single year. I go through them all and I make any updates that need to be done and you get those as well. So if you haven't got any of these, make sure you go and check out my bundle. You can go and grab that. Super affordable. So I'll put all of that inside of the show notes for you this week. So make sure you go and check that out. I hope that you have been empowered. I hope I've given you the insights to see how this all works. Maybe you've even got a little bit excited about diving into your numbers. I hope so. I'd love that. And if you are a fellow numbers person, definitely my kind of person, feel free to come and reach out. Well, everyone can come and reach out to me, but this is the stuff that I really geek out on. And if you want more support and you want to see if you want to, if you need a bit of an audit or you want me to kind of take a look at your numbers and help you to actually see what stuff needs working on, I can help you with that too as well. So feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and we can chat further. So yeah, let numbers be sexy. Let them be your best friend. It does help take away that emotion out of marketing and selling your stuff. So if ever you find yourself going down that spiral again, then get logical. Look at those numbers. Remind yourself of how awesome you are. I'm going to do a whole other episode, I think, on just the things to get out of the funk when your mind goes in that spiral and the doubt devil is just on your head and on your shoulders constantly, because there's a whole like set of things that I do. So perhaps I'll do that in another episode. I hope you found this useful. Do share any big takeaways and ahas that you got from this episode. I love hearing from you. Do make sure that you come and follow me over on Instagram. Share this episode with anyone that you think will find it useful, and make sure that you are subscribed and you're following along. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day, and I will see you next time.